Hey there, we are live at the offices of Midtown Comics, and I am with Tom Brevoort. How is it going?
It's going all right. Hello, Internet.
We have a wonderful slate of books in front of us. We have a wonderful slate of books that we're going to be talking about. Of course, we are now really getting into Marvel Legacy. We're a couple weeks into it right now.
Week 3, number
Week
3.
Lots of fun stuff going on. Of course, if you guys watched us last week, we talked about the first 2 weeks of Marvel Legacy as well as the Marvel Legacy #1 one-shot. Some very fun stuff going on here. And now we're going to take a look and we're going to talk about some of the new stuff that has just come out. Get some of Tom's thoughts on some of these books. Get you guys hyped up because there's a lot of stuff to really be excited about. So we're going to get started right off the bat. We're going to start off with Champions.
Champions number 13.
Number 13, very cool. Mark Waid, of course, bringing some fantastic words to this book. You can see this very cool lenticular cover with the High Evolutionary on it. Some fun stuff here. And if you guys haven't been checking out Champions, now is the time to get in. It's part of Worlds Collide, and it's truly sensational. Let's flip this open, get some of that really cool art from Humberto Ramos. Get a couple of cool pages here as we see the High Evolutionary sending his forces to Earth from Counter-Earth.
Yes. Yeah, this is all, it's the second part of the Worlds Collide crossover that's bouncing back and forth between Avengers and Champions for the first 3 months of Marvel Legacy. After a year of kind of setting the Champions up on their own and letting them do their own thing and kind of establish their brand, so to speak. Now there's a big enough situation going on that requires the efforts of both the Avengers and the Champions, despite the fact that they've got some slight history between them.
Yeah.
And a little bit of friction about how to get it done. Everybody has to kind of come together to deal with High Evolutionary and this mysterious new threat that is emanating from Counter-Earth.
Yes, it's really been fun. I'm showing this page right here because I love we get to see Falcon with his just massive array of birds. As we see worldwide terror going on. Of course, this is here in New York City. We get to see some terror. Some cool stuff going on here. It's been really fun. I think it's great, even if you guys haven't been checking it out, because it gives really good history on everybody right away. You really get a good feel for these characters. I really like the interactions between Viv Vision and, of course, regular Vision.
Well, that's kind of the spine. They really are the spine of this story. Their relationship and their interactions. Really do form the crux of everything that's going on from a character level.
Yeah.
And so we'll see that relationship go through some changes and some transformations before we're done.
Yeah, that sounds super exciting. They're really great characters. Show off some of the primer pages here at the back that give you a history. I want to show you guys like some of these later pages, but I can't because then you'll know everything that happens. And it really is worth picking up. I think that Champions is one of the coolest things going on at Marvel right now because it's a unique and fun team. We haven't gotten to see a lot of these younger heroes teaming up in a while. So Champions, I think, has been a great place to find just about everybody you'd want.
Well, thank you. I think it's a book that Mark and Humberto feel very passionate about, and they've enjoyed doing it, and it's got kind of a good sense of fun and positivity about it.
Yeah.
That kind of is a hallmark of most of the things that Mark does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like it.
I agree. That's 2 recommendations. Tom's probably
only one biased.
Only one. But definitely really great stuff. Really a lot of fun. And then we'll continue down. And the second one we got is a biggie. It is Incredible Hulk issue number 709. No longer totally awesome.
No.
He's now simply incredible.
He's only partially awesome now.
Partially awesome. Definitely partially angry, I would say, in this new story. It's a return to Planet Hulk. Greg Pak playing with his old playground with Greg Land on art. Show off the interior Mike Deodato Jr. homage to the original Planet Hulk covers. Some really cool stuff here. I'm a sucker for. Actually, this might be my favorite lenticular out of the entire set because it's just so cool. You took one really cool cover and then you slap another really cool cover on it, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. We get to see they return to Sakaar which of course fans will be familiar with because the very famous Planet Hulk storyline took place there. Some fun stuff here. Greg Land's interior art, and there's a lot to show. A lot of great stuff. I like that it's kind of got like that Mad Max vibe.
Yeah, definitely. You can see that there's an influence there, although that kind of goes back to the original, Planet Hulk as well. It takes Amadeus, who's kind of in a strange place after his last adventure, where he kind of lost control of himself for a second and is kind of having some second thoughts maybe about how capable he is in terms of being the Hulk.
Yeah.
He thought he was on top of it, and now he's not entirely sure. But this call for help comes from Sakaar, and they're just asking for the help of the Hulk. They think they're going to be getting Banner.
Yeah.
But they get Amadeus, and this is the first time that Amadeus has been in the environs of Planet Hulk. Where everything is kind of on a Hulk level.
Yeah.
Like even the ordinary people there are a lot more powerful than ordinary people walking around on Earth. So the playing field is a little different than what he's been dealing with up till now. So he's going to be grappling with those two conflicting impulses.
Yeah.
The fact that he's a little bit not so sure of his control, and the fact that he's in a world where he may need to be a little less in control if he's even going to make it through.
Yeah, I think that this is really cool. And you mentioned control, and I think that was a big part of the Weapon H storyline, was his struggle with control, but also just in that story we got to see how Amadeus reacted to kind of cold-blooded killers. Not, that all the X characters that were there, or Old Man Logan and Domino and all, they're not necessarily cold-blooded killers, but they're not shy about it.
Yeah.
And so now he's placed in an environment where he can't escape that. Last time with them, he kind of got to try to get them to pull back a little bit and try to have them ease up. But now if he eases up, he's jeopardizing his own life and the life of all the people that he's there to try to protect.
Potentially. I mean, again, this is kind of the crucible that you put a hero through to find out what they're really made of, and how strongly he believes in what he believes in, and how good his resolve is in terms of being able to harness this raging power that he's sitting on top of. Up till now, he's really been almost cocky about it. He got the power from Banner, and he figured, really expressed the fact that he could handle it. He's been spending less and less time as Amadeus and more time as the Hulk, because that's just who he is. Metaphorically, as we've seen through the issues, over the last year, that savage Hulk that was locked in the trunk of his metaphoric car has moved steadily, towards the front, to where he's kind of fighting with Amadeus for control of the steering wheel. And that's, his hubris may be leading him to a bad and messy end. Yeah,
and I mean, I hope it's not, a messy end on his part. I've grown quite attached to Amadeus over the last couple years. I think this is really cool, and I think that this is the kind of book that a lot of Hulk fans have really been itching for. Greg, of course, spent a lot of time with the Planet Hulk characters and with the Warbound even afterwards, because he did Incredible Hulks, and we got to see the lingering effects of that. But I think it's really cool to kind of see how it fits into this modern status quo for Amadeus, who's a completely different beast.
Yeah, it's very much Greg Pak's sandbox. He, in doing the original Planet Hulk story, he created more or less the entirety of that world and that society. And here he just kind of builds upon it. Like he took the pieces he already had and adds to it in an interesting way.
Yeah. And it's very cool, very exciting. 709 issues.
709 issues, and still people will complain about the numbering.
Yeah, gotta love it. But it's
because that's
cool.
us. That's what we do.
It's I like it's funny because the Hulk, he was in what was his original book? He was in
Tales to Astonish.
That's
so
he didn't even.
That one is one of the two things that fans point to. He wasn't in Tales to Astonish at the start.
Yeah.
And he also had his own book for 6 issues, and why aren't those counted?
Right.
And the answer is that's the choice that Stan made in 1968 when he rolled Astonish into being Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of pregnant with that at this point. But it's fine. People, everybody has their own opinion, and that's fine. If you want to get your marker out and change the number on the cover. Once you've bought it, it's yours. You can do with it as you will. I would take no offense at that.
Yeah. Well, as we continue, we've got one of the longest running books, and now we've got one of the cool new ones. We've got Monsters Unleashed. Some very fun stuff here. I love this homage because it's to the Fantastic Four, and I'm always a junkie for the Fantastic Four. So very cool stuff here. Show the interior so you can get a better, clean look at that art. And Monsters Unleashed has been a lot of fun. Of course, it's spun out of the big event from last year. Yeah.
Also called Monsters Unleashed.
Also Monsters Unleashed.
In case people are easily confused.
Yes.
We kept it simple so that everybody could follow along.
It wasn't Astonishing Monsters first?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. So it's a lot of fun. Andrea Briccardo does the art here with Cullen Bunn, and I really like this because I'm a sucker for Elsa Bloodstone. So I think it's really been cool seeing how she fits in with this world. And 7 issues in, we've seen already quite a slew of Avengers for Kid Kaiju, which is an amazing name. Kid Kaiju is like the coolest name. But Kid Kaiju.
Thank you. You have no idea how late in the game that name was settled on.
Well, really?
It was very, very late.
It's such a great name because it's so cool. It's old school. It fits the vibe of this because it's got the alliteration, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's Monsters Unleashed is sort of unapologetically the book it is.
Yeah.
You know, the title tells you what you're going to get, which is big, enormous monsters crashing and smashing into one another in big displays of destruction and pyrotechnics and so forth.
I think that's fun.
And the little heart.
Yeah.
There's a little heart in there.
Oh, definitely.
But not too much. Just the right amount to season it.
I like here on the interior jacket, you could see that they, just like the original Fantastic Four listed the names of the characters, we get them all here, but like the names, they're all monster names, you know? We've got like, Scrag and Hyvo. And Slizik, Aegis, very cool. I actually, I immediately attached myself to Scrag. Scrag took about 2 seconds, and I was in love with Scrag.
Well, Scrag is the one that talks in the third person. And
yeah.
So he's the easiest one to connect with because really, who doesn't do that?
Yeah. And
Tom does. Tom does.
Very fun stuff here. We'll show a little tease of some of the stuff that's going on in this book. Because of course we see that it's not just these monsters that Kid Kaiju and his crew have to worry about. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and I don't know how detailed a look you guys can get at that, but there are some crazy monsters that we're hinting at on the horizon that has me really intrigued. I'm really curious to see where this has been going because it's a really fun book, and honestly, it's nice to have just something big, fun, and monsters smashing buildings, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Again, that's kind of the itch it was designed to scratch. Mm-hmm. It was the kind of book that we hadn't been doing a lot of. So it really is, it really is designed to be, again, big fun with just a little bit of heart in the middle of it.
Yeah, and I think that's great. It's a lot of fun. Now, another one of Marvel's classic heroes getting renumbering. We've got Invincible Iron Man, issue 593. Some cool stuff here. I like this homage. This is very appropriate as well.
Yes, yeah. Chose that very specifically for this issue. I tell you too, I went back and forth until literally the very last second in putting the old logo back on.
Oh, really?
Because I almost kept the more modern logo, and I literally at the last second I went, okay, we'll do the old logo, and I like it so much better now. I'm so happy that it
is really cool. I mean, because it's great, and that's iconic typography.
Well,
really.
yeah, it's very much like that was the Iron Man logo when I read the book back in the '70s. So it immediately says Iron Man to me in a nostalgic kind of way. Mm-hmm. But that's that's true for a certain number of readers. It's not like that's been the logo on the book in 30, 40 years.
Yeah,
so I don't know if it has the same kind of effect for everybody else. But it feels good. It feels good on the lenticular cover. That's the homage. It feels good on the modern cover. Mm-hmm. It looks like Iron Man to me. So yeah. I feel like I made the right choice there.
I think you definitely did.
Yay me!
And talking about how the book looks, it looks great. Stefano Caselli doing some really tremendous art here.
Yeah, he is. Both he and Marte Gracia, who colors him, have both really stepped it up over the last year.
Yeah.
He was always good, but again, he feels a real attachment to the book and a real attachment in particular to Ironheart that we helped to, not necessarily create, but to sort of redefine working with Brian hand in hand. He's been enjoying it. He's been working and producing at a much more furious rate than in the past.
Well, that's how you know that the book's good too. If you have a creative team that's really excited about making the book, you're going to get a book that's really amazing. And I mean, Bendis has been on Iron Man for about 2 years now, and he's really been having a lot of fun. Here you'll see some of the cool stuff he's been doing in Infamous. So we get Alex Maleev for these Doom
and
hits.
Alex actually. He painted these pages himself.
Oh, really?
These aren't colored by Marte. Alex too kind of took it up another level for the legacy stuff, and so all the work he's doing the color work on as well. So they're a little.
That's really cool.
They're a little more lush, and they've got a little more subtlety to them, even in the pages that we had before this.
It's funny you say the subtlety because and you can't see it on the camera, but like a panel like this where you see the thing, and honestly, it's his eyes.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that I love. Of course, the eyes are kind of really important to the thing. Is the ever-loving blue-eyed thing.
Right, right.
So getting that really captured and nailed down, I think that makes this book really exciting. And for a way to jump into the series, this kind of gives you the full range of what's been going on with Iron Man, because it's going from 2 books to 1 book now.
Right, right.
And I think splitting the art is really cool at capturing that. Show off some of the cool action sequences here. Stefano gets a lot of toys to play with in this issue.
Yes, he does. On the other hand, he has a lot of stuff to draw every issue because Brian is merciless when it comes to that.
But it's so great. It's so fun. And seeing everybody, really, I think that it's really cool when you see the entire Marvel Universe like that, because it really helps you give an idea of what this hero's place is in the world.
Right.
So for a younger hero like Ironheart, who's only been around for really the last year or so, getting to see her place in the world and how she fits in, especially with the life of Tony, some cool stuff.
Yeah, this is really the ramp up now. From this point, 593 up to 600 is really the ramp up, and it'll take all the different storylines and threads that Brian has been building since he started on the book around 2 years ago, and bring them to a big finish.
Yeah.
That he's threatening to be the biggest Iron Man story ever done.
Well,
and he doesn't threaten idly. He doesn't idly threat.
If he threatens, it's happening.
He threatens actively.
He's
an active threatener. So you can take that to the bank.
Some very cool stuff. I'm excited. I mean, the story is called The Search for Tony Stark. Immediately, you know that there's going to be some crazy stuff going on.
Yep.
Very exciting. And I can't talk about the last couple pages, but the last couple pages have me really, really, really curious because I can't say it at all. I can't even vaguely hint at it without spoiling everything, but it's cool. It's really cool, and I'm excited.
Good.
Very fun stuff. Then a classic hero that is near and dear to my heart. We've got the brand new Marvel Legacy, Luke Cage, going back to his original numbering, 166.
166.
He takes some of the Heroes for Hire numbering in there, which is appropriate because, of course, Luke Cage is the original Hero for Hire.
It's his business card.
Yeah.
So if anybody gets it, it has to be him.
And it's great. I mean, I'm a sucker for Luke Cage. I like the old school stuff, like the original, really like crazy, far out, outlandish Luke Cage stories.
Right.
With him fighting Doctor Doom and stuff like that.
Yep.
Really cool. And here we get to see David Walker is really having a lot of fun because he's bringing back some of these elements of those old Luke Cage things. He's bringing back some of the old characters we haven't seen in a while, and I think it's really great, especially if people are being introduced. Luke is an on-the-rise character.
Yeah, with the Netflix show.
Yeah.
And, more people are aware of who he is and know about him and are interested in him than probably at any other point in his history.
It's funny to think of Luke Cage as an on-the-rise hero because I've been reading Luke Cage for he's been ever since around Alias New Avengers. He's really had a constant presence in the Marvel Universe, and that's going back 15 years. But now we really see him.
What's the thing
weighing on the minds of people?
Once you break out, into media, once you've got TV or once you've got film, just more people are aware as to who these characters are. Luke is hardly a new character. To me, he's a long storied character.
Yeah, he's been around for at least 40 years now.
1972.
72, so 45 years.
Yeah. So it's not like he hasn't put in his time and paid his dues, but just the jump you get when you've got a TV show or a movie or something like that it's astronomical. Just again, people on the streets. You could go down out in front of the store now and just ask people randomly
Oh yeah.
who Luke Cage was, and they couldn't tell you chapter and verse necessarily, but they probably have some sense as to who he is.
Oh, definitely. And you could tell because if you look at Comic-Con this year versus Comic-Con, say 3 years ago, something like that, there's so many people that are cosplaying as Luke Cage. You see so many beat up hoodies and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I think it's really fun.
It's an easy costume to do too.
Much easier than this
It's an
classic.
easy costume to walk to Comic-Con wearing because it doesn't really look like you're wearing a costume.
I love I'm a classic guy, so I love seeing him in the silver tiara and everything like that. These Mark Bagley on these pages is really fun. Robbie Thompson is doing all of them, all the Marvel primers.
Yeah, all the primers.
And they're great. They're super fun, and they're a really cool way to get up to date. And for somebody like Luke Cage, he is more approachable now because of the media and stuff like that. So the primer pages are good to just kind of fill in those little gaps. People probably know what's going on already, but just to fill it in.
And they're a little bonus. They're a little extra content for people that won't cost you an extra penny.
Right. So
it cost us a little bit, but that's okay. We don't mind.
Yeah, and they're great. And I like stuff like that because for people that might be intimidated by the bigger numbers, that fills in. This tells you, okay, well, look. Because, sometimes people come up and they're like, I want to read Spider-Man. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, here, you should start with this new book,
Right.
And they go, no, I want to read all of Spider-Man. It's like, okay, well, it's been 50 years, maybe...
You can do it that way, but it's not maybe the easiest way to start right now.
So I think that it helps streamline the process for people that might feel like, maybe they're having a hard time jumping in, maybe the numbers scare them. That makes it a lot easier, I think. I imagine you agree.
Yes. Yes, I do.
So another cool character that's been around for a couple years now is Spider-Gwen. Gwen Stacy, a.k.a. Spider-Woman, a.k.a. now Gwenom. Some crazy stuff going on here. I like this cover, of course, an homage to
Todd.
Todd McFarlane's Venom himself. Show off the interior, or the interior cover, the raw art, as it were. And this book has been a lot of fun. Jason Latour and Robbie Rodriguez have created such a cool world. It reminds me a lot of the Ultimate Universe, because I read a lot of the Ultimate Universe stuff, and just how that was a much more modern and contemporary take at the time.
Right.
I think Spider-Gwen has really captured that same vibe.
Well, I'm sure they would thank you for that. That's a nice thing to be compared to.
Yeah.
And it certainly has the advantage of they have a whole world's landscape to play with, to write on. That what started, and this book was a complete fluke. We just did the one story in Edge of Spider-Verse.
Yeah, that was only 3 years now.
Yeah.
And she was one of the biggest characters.
Yeah,
arguably.
It caught fire. People loved the character. People loved the costume design, and we moved on it pretty rapidly to turn it into a series. And, again, you go to Comic-Con and there's a lot of Spider-Gwens walking around.
There are.
That's a character and a design in particular that really struck a nerve with people.
Show off more of the primer pages. Bagley again on this one,
Mark.
which it's funny to mention Ultimate Spider-Man, but then you got him on here too.
Yeah.
Of course, he originally did the original Ultimate Spider-Man, but it's really fun. And introducing Venom kind of gives me anxiety because Venom always destroys the life of like whoever he's attached to. And so I get like emotionally invested in like, cause I love Spider-Gwen, you know, I've got like a bunch of Spider-Gwen stuff on my shelf. I've got, you know, figures and stuff like that. I like freaked out when they made the Marvel Legends of her. But I don't want to see her life completely destroyed. And like Peter's life is like pretty terrible, like decently often. Like, you know, he's got it pretty good, but then like it all comes crashing down, and I don't want to see things go horrible for Gwen, but I mean, things have already been kind of rough lately.
Yeah. Although, again, Gwen's a different character than Peter. You know, to some degree, Peter is his own worst enemy. Yeah. And Gwen, I think, is a bit more capable than that. You know,
yeah,
a bit more overtly competent and a bit more confident in herself. That doesn't mean that you know, she might not be heading for a fall, but if so, she's probably better equipped to handle it. Right. Maybe.
Well, and what I like is very differently than Peter. She immediately has more of a support system.
Yeah.
Not to say that Peter doesn't, but from the beginning we get to see, her and her father, and the Parkers are still both, fine and dandy next door.
Right.
And of course the Mary Janes. So she's got kind of her own crew going on, and a lot of fun stuff. Very, very nervous for, to make sure she holds on to this nice stuff.
You should be nervous, but not that edgy.
Yeah, no, it's the kind of nervous where I'm like, I'm gonna be feverish for it. I'm gonna go for it right away when I see it.
That's kind of the sweet spot.
Yeah, and so now we've got the biggest book of the week, and I mean literally the biggest. This thing is mammoth. Mighty Thor issue number 700.
700.
With an ominous homage cover here.
Yes. Well, it's an ominous homage cover that befits the title of the story.
Yeah.
The Death of the Mighty Thor.
And
so that is what we are
very
promising.
exciting stuff. Jason Aaron's now been on. Well, he's been on Thor for about 5 years now, right?
Yeah, about 5 years. It was right after AVX that he transitioned out to Thor. So, he too has been playing a nice long game with a lot of
definitely.
Things. And we're starting to get into, look, it's Walter.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got some really great artists on here. We got some Walt Simonson stuff. Here you'll see some Russell Darterman. We get a whole bunch of goodies. I'll keep flipping through, show off a couple pages that aren't too.
It's Jason's second enormous book of the month after having done the Legacy.
After doing Legacy, yeah.
Which itself was like 50 pages. This is another 50 pages from him.
It's
in Thor 700, but it's
very cool. Yeah,
he's been laying the groundwork for this for a very long time.
Definitely.
And this book touches on pretty much all the different aspects and areas that he's been building up in terms of the world of Thor. Not just Jane and Odinson, but the old grandfather Thor of the future and young Thor of the past, and Throg is in it.
Let me.
And the War Thor.
I do have to find some of that.
Gets a cool sequence, and
here's some of the War Thor stuff. Very cool. James Herron jumping in on that.
James Herron does those, and James drew the entirety of the following issue, 701.
We get to see Jane. We get some Odinson. We get a lot. Very cool stuff here.
Yeah, there's a big Thor Hulk fight in it.
There is with that's the Daniel Acuna art, and it's modern Hulk. It's Jen.
Yeah, it's Jen Walters Hulk.
Go back to that. He's one of my favorite artists at Marvel.
Yeah,
just by far.
He's terrific.
His atmosphere, and it really paints the picture for this. Really builds that epic scale. Mm-hmm. I think that when you see the Hulk and Thor fighting, and you see the destruction that, of course, appropriately comes in the wake of that. He nails it. Does a really great job. Really fun stuff here. And this is really cool because it's 700, and I always like these big anniversary issues because there's a lot of value in this, and there's a lot to grab onto. Multiple stories going on here, so it's really easy to jump in and find something that you can sink your teeth into.
Yeah, they also tend to be, again, they're both celebratory of what has come before, and also kind of charting the direction into the future.
Yeah.
So, we tend to try and take our centennial issues seriously, and anytime they come around, we try to do them and pop them out and celebrate them and make them something worth talking about.
Definitely, and it's cool. It's we get some Coipel pages.
Yeah.
And Mike Del Mundo as well. I feel like I'm showing you half the book, but the book is so huge that even though I've shown you 10 different pages, I've shown you nothing.
There's still plenty of stuff.
And it's very exciting. And now, of course, Thor is coming out in, it's a week and a half until the release.
Very soon.
Very soon.
It's getting great responses. Very, very good.
I'm super excited for it. It's probably my most anticipated movie of the year.
I haven't seen it myself. Mm-hmm. Although I read the script, and I've seen bits and pieces more behind the scenes than most. And it's a lot of fun. It's got a very different tone than the previous two Thor films, and it just it kind of goes all in on the kind of movie it wants to be.
Yeah.
And so in that, again, it's not saying it's like Guardians, but in the same way that Guardians really embrace, this is the movie we're going to make, and that's what we're doing. This kind of follows the same filmmaking philosophy.
Well,
so you
heard it here.
It is the movie. It is.
It
the
is.
movie you think it is, that's the one it is.
It's the trailer. It's accurate. It's
Yes.
everything you want is, I think, what you're getting at, which
Yeah.
makes me happy. Very excited.
Yeah, it's got some big stuff in it.
Very cool. And there's big stuff in here.
Yes.
So check out this big issue with big stuff.
To whet your appetite for
Yeah.
the film. That and Planet Hulk, Incredible Hulk are two easy
And they're-
stops this week.
Yeah, I was gonna say it makes for
Before
a really
you-
cool week. You know exactly what you're going for.
Yep.
So of course we talked about it last week because the first part already came out, but I want to continue to talk about Venom issue 156. Some very cool stuff going on here with Mike Costa and Mark Bagley on interior art here.
Yeah. Baggs doing Venom for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, since I don't think he's done proper Venom since probably the 90s, right?
Yeah, probably since Lethal Protector.
Because
He did that first Lethal Protector
right.
limited series.
Yeah, and it's funny because, he hasn't really, he used him in Ultimate Spider-Man a bit, but he
Yeah.
has, and for a hot second in Bendis' New Avenger, or Mighty Avengers, he used
Right,
it.
right.
But it's
like
cool
that-
seeing him back on it because he's one of the most iconic Venom artists.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Todd, obviously, him and Eric Larson, I would say, are like the three classic vintage Venom artists.
Very cool
I
stuff.
really dig that cover too, I gotta say.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with it, but I like that image a lot.
And it tells you what I didn't want to tell you last time about who pops up in this. Saved it for the cover, but man, Kraven versus Venom.
Yeah.
It's such a no-brainer. It makes so much sense because, of course, the deadliest prey that he's ever hunted is, Spider-Man. But
Yep.
Venom is the deadlier of the species,
Yep.
as it would be.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Kraven's having a good year. He's going to show up a couple other places too before the year is out.
Well, you heard it here. That's some very exciting news. I know we've got some people that'll be very excited to hear Kraven's popping up because it's great. And it's a really fun book, and it's really great. And I like getting to explore the multiple plot lines and multiple Venoms.
Yeah.
You're not forgetting about the other guys. It's not just Eddie. It's got a little bit of everybody. So now, as we continue, another storyline that we talked about last week. We've got the Mojo Worldwide, and I mentioned last week I hate Mojo. He is the worst. I hate Mojo so much, and I hate that this story is making me enjoy Mojo.
Well, that's kind of the point, isn't it?
Because he's just one of those characters that every time I see him pop up, he's so disgusting. He's so infuriating. But he works so well as a foil in this storyline. I think it's been really cool. As we see Mojo, it's Mojo Worldwide. He's taken the X-Men on some crazy adventures in little squads.
Yeah.
It's not all the X-Men in one place. It's kind of, he isolated the team.
But you do get both the blue and gold team together really for the first time since the books relaunched with the new appellations a year ago or so. So it's a little tiny like micro crossover between those two titles, bouncing back and forth. And so it's got a nice footprint in the world of X.
Definitely. And I like stuff like that because the X-Men books have always kind of had that playful, like, jumping into each other's book because the X-Men are all very interconnected. It makes sense for them. Of course, we've seen a slew of crossovers like Messiah Complex and Second Coming. Right. And I always, that feels natural to me. It makes sense for the X-Men books to jump into each other's worlds because, chances are, too, if you're reading one X-Men, you're probably reading the other.
Right.
They're all very cool stuff. And we get to see Iceman really going through some cool stuff here. Iceman's been he's been really growing in profile these last couple of years.
Definitely.
Definitely overdue. Great stuff, great character. Really cool. Really enjoying what Mark Guggenheim is doing on this, and Mark Lamming is on the art for this one and nails it. Really does a great job. A lot of fun. And to close us off, still in the world of X, we've got another anniversary issue. That's right, Cable issue 150. And of course, a nice homage here to the first appearance.
Right, by Rob himself. So however many years it's been, 25, 30 years? It's been a long time.
And you can, he does a great job. It must be, because he was late 80s, right?
It was
89?
I think it was more
90?
like the early,
something
more like
around
early 90s, maybe 1990.
Yeah.
Because he was in New Mutants for about a year before it became X-Force.
Yeah. And some
So
cool stuff.
we'll call it 1989
Well, okay.
for the sake of argument.
And this is great. This is, I think, a really fun book if you're a longtime Cable fan. Really a lot of fun. We've got Ed Brisson is jumping on as the new writer,
Right.
and John Malin on art. And John Malin nails that like classic '90s Cable vibe of just muscles and shoulder pads and some
Right.
crazy stuff
Well,
going
this
on.
definitely like steers into that real early cableness
Yeah.
Of things, the real foundational X-Force, New Mutants, Rob Liefeld Cable, and the story has Cable going back further in time to assemble a new squad of mutants, the newer mutants.
The newer, as it were, yeah.
Who technically are the older mutants, but will for a thing, and that's kind of fun. So you get a cavalcade of.
We get dupe.
Get dupe.
That's what really matters here. We get dupe. You can give me Longshot, you can give me Shatterstar, but dupe, that dude that looks like a melted gummy bear. That's the one. He's great. Actually, this is my favorite panel out of the entire book. Is this one of Dupe giving the little thumbs up? Like when I was reading it, I like immediately said that to all my friends. I was like, yeah. And they were actually really excited about Dupe as well, because of course there's been a lot of cool stuff with him over the years. Jason Aaron, I think was the last one to. Oh, they did do. You had a Dupe mini a few years ago.
Yeah.
For Battle for the Atom, he had a tie-in.
Right.
But this is really fun and really cool, and I'm really excited because this is bringing back a lot of that old school X-Men continuity that we haven't seen referenced in a while. We get to see Selene, who has had some major storylines with the X-Men, and getting to see her back in the book is pretty cool, and the externals.
Again, this is kind of the challenge we laid out to all the creative teams on the Legacy books was, going into this period to build stories that dug back into the past, into the bedrock of whatever made these characters cool and what made them exciting to the people working on them. To kind of not just look backwards, but to pull raw material, pull gems from the past and use that to find a way forward. And that's why you see so much classic stuff showing up all around the Marvel U. It's very much how everybody was thinking in terms of finding that stuff that would remind them of why they loved all these characters and gotten interested in all these series in the first place.
Well, that's a great directive, have fun, play with the toys, That's kind of like everything you want, because, everybody comes up with their own like crazy things they would love to see, and I think it's really fun to see that the writers and the artists here are really bringing out some great stuff, and I think the books have been superb so far.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks everybody who's gone out and supported them for the past 3 weeks, and we'll see you for week 4 this week, and then hopefully for many weeks to come. Yeah.
So thank you, Tom, for joining us today
Thanks
to talk
for having
about these
me.
books. And come on by, stop by, pick up some great books, and check out Marvel Legacy.